What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dark Professor, Dark Joker, and this is the first episode of Traditional Fans with Opinions. Now, as I said in my Explain the Channel video, this was going to be a live stream type thing, but I kept having audio issues with OBS and all that, so live streaming wasn't working. Yeah, so basically, how I'm going to handle this is like each day I'm going to give my daily reviews, and that will be called Traditional Fans with Opinions. Whether it's of books, novels, comics, video games, TV shows, movies. That's basically that's how it's going to be handled. It's going to be daily reviews. And today I'm going to cover ones from last quarter, so last anime season, the winter season, and I'll cover what's premiered this week, if anything, even what's premiered this week. So on that note, here we go. Ameku ND Doctor Detective. This is one that aired last year. Final episode aired this past Wednesday. So the main character, Ameku, I meant, is basically she's a really good doctor. She's a diagnostician, and basically, so her personality is like a mix between Sherlock Holmes and Gregory House. And so that personality, which makes her very eccentric, but also gives her some very good deductive skills, which helps in her medical career, she becomes a very good doctor. She's able to diagnose stuff very, very well, and her knowledge is used by the police to help solve crimes. Which, so she's like the vice chairman the at the Tenakai General Hospital, as well as the director of the Department of Investigative Pathology. And so her assistant is Yu Takanashi, who she calls Totori, and he's very good in martial arts. Which comes in handy when she's investigating murders. Basically, they just solve mysteries regarding, different medical cases, which occasionally involve the death of people. So, some examples of ones include some guy drowning in a locked room, even though there's no water around, no one else was in the room. Then you had there was three young boys had, whose systems for whatever they had got worse after they saw an image of an angel. That one's a that one's a very sad one because like those three boys, they basically like got themselves sick with different medicines because they felt bad about this kid they made fun of because they made fun of for being bald. It's revealed he had leukemia, and to make up for it, they went to admit they. It's kind of like they didn't want to admit they did wrong, but they still felt bad, so they wanted to stick around longer to cheer the kid up, and they got themselves sick. And that's yeah, and that kid being Mickey Kinta, called who called Ameku Dr. Kid because she's very short. And yeah, dude, that is a sad death. Like that is a sad scene. Yeah, yeah. But another mystery was a kid who was like kind of like overdosing on vitamin A. It's revealed his mother was like personally gave him sick. She had Munchausen by proxy. Then I remember the first two episodes dealt with this mobster whose blood was blue and he was like missing his leg, and basically she was able to solve his murder. Like how these deductions happen, all the medicine stuff is very fascinating. I really enjoyed this show. And anyone who's like a beginner in anime, this would be what I would call a beginner's level anime. Blue Exorcist season 5. This is a show that's been around for a while. This season is mostly flashback based, basically. So Ren sees like the past of his adoptive father, Shiro Fujimoto, and his biological mother, Yuri Agen, where it's revealed that basically Yuri knew Satan from like a younger age, and like he gradually got stronger and basically stalked her. And like she grew up, she became an exorcist. Shiro became a eventually became a paladin, basically like the most powerful exorcist, and spent a lot of time screwing hookers. Yeah, that kind of traumatized Ren, seeing that happen. And like Satan basically gets very possessive, impregnates Yuri, then this leads to the birth of Ran Okamura and his twin brother Yukio, where Ren is shown immediately to inherit his powers. Yukio at first seemingly does not inherit it. People who've watched Full Exorcist know this story. All those revealed, all those real in season 4, Yukio had some form of Satan-like powers, not as potent as Ren's, but he had some form of powers. And basically, like Ren just gets depressed and he thinks he's better off not being alive. Now, I'm not gonna give spoilers for the manga, but things do get better for him. And Shimi learns more about her role, about how she's the heir of Shemihaza, which is one of the Grigori, which is like an advisor for the True Cross Order. Yeah, but I really like this season. I've read the manga, so I knew what would happen. Definitely improvement over that filler that we got in season 1. Oh gosh, that filler was awful. So glad they ignored it. But yeah, I recommend this. Blue Miburo. This started basically of fall of last year, continuing into winter this year. Basically, it's a historical fiction. You have some historical samurai that are part of the like so you had the main kid, his name is like like so you have this kid, Neo, who that's the silver haired kid you see in the middle. Basically he's high sense of justice. Like little naive, but he's a good kid. And like his sense of justice basically the Miburo or the Mibu Roshigumi. There were some Ronin samurai. Basically, they recruit him. He starts being trained under them, and they're basically since they're Ronin, they have no master, and they like basically solve crimes. They eventually do well enough, and while they're hated initially by the public, they eventually do well enough to where they start working for the Shogun Tokugawa Imochi. And this shows basically about it shows some of the real history loosely. I mean, it's historical fiction, and it shows how the Miburo transitioned towards becoming the Shinshingumi. Like I would say, the sword fights are cool. All different stuff about how each samurai, how their individual codes work. It's pretty good. It's a decent show. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Like Neo can be annoying at times, but I would say, but the samurai stuff is cool. I recommend giving it a watch, and it's also a beginner's level anime. Common side effects. This was a adult animated show on Adult Swim. Received a lot of high praise. Basically, you have this guy named Marcel Kusho who smuggles his tortoise, Socrates, and this mushroom called Blue Angel, which is able to heal basically any disease or injury. He smuggles it into U.S., but he is chased by government agents who uh, who basically do not want that mushroom around because so basically there's a company called Ruokao and one of the board members, Jonas Backstein. does not want the Blue Angel out there because if you have something that can heal anything, there's no more need for medicine. Basically, that would distinctly hurt the businesses within the pharmaceutical industry, and basically, so government agents and vaccines associate deputy national security director Cecily, they basically send agents after him. Those agents being Opano and Harrington. And Marshall meets up with his high school friend, Francis Applewhite, who's the executive assistant to the Ryukawa CEO, Rick Kruger. So he ironically ends up working with like someone from a pharmaceutical company he does not like. So do some stuff. Marshall's trained for arson. He ends up having to hide out in North Carolina, where he's eventually found by the agents, Pondo and Harrington, and he gets imprisoned. And meanwhile, Francis, who wants Ryoko to, help grow the mushroom because she wants to help people like Marshall. Now she wants to make money as well, and she believes Ryoko can help make. So she gets a promotion, and she wants to sell the mushroom. Now Backstein shuts it down, and he gives his logic to Kruger. He basically fires Kruger and like Rick Kruger and Francis. They both get fired after Jonas shuts it down. And Marshall, basically, Cecily and Backstein try to have him killed. He failed to evade death, and then he fakes his own death with the help of this mycologist who who briefly worked with those DEA agents upon Harrington. Then the mycologist, whose name is Amelia, helps Marshall escape. They return to North Carolina, where Marshall's friend Hildy is working with this group of locals to grow the mushroom, and they're trying to sell it um, illegally. And then Rick, who's very pissed off at Jonas, steals a sample of the mushroom and tries and wants to go into business with Francis to sell it. And Marshall, one thing that happens, he learns that his Taurus, Socrates, is able to is significant in the growth of the mushroom because his poop acts as an extract, which helps it grow. I'm not an expert in how all that works. That I'm not a mycologist, biologist. That was not my best subject in school. But basically, Socrates is very important. And so Marshall's able to get back Socrates. But one of the issues that happens with the mushrooms is while it heals, it causes some bad side effects, hence the name of the show, which includes seeing a bunch of weird visions involving like these tall, naked white creatures, kind of stuff you hear talked about on Forbidden Frontiers. Very good, which is a very good show that Nerdrotic does. But basically, people see visions. Sometimes those visions go well for people, sometimes they don't. And Marshall's concerned that with that side effect, they should not be selling it. They should be more careful in how they distribute it. Hildy is not happy about that. She's crazy. She thinks like the mushroom's telling her to sell it to people. So she tries to kill Marshall. Copano saves Marshall, and Jonas, who has some terminal illness or something, tries to get a mushroom one of those mushrooms in order to save his own life. But then a DEA raid, it causes some problems. Opano gets hurt. Francis, who decides to not go into business with Rick, reunites with Marshall and they go on the run. And Rick, who still has a sample of the mushroom, decides to sell it as a food additive. Since you have the logic Jonas gave, basically, hmm, basically, if he sells as a Rick sells as a food additive, is a way he could continue to make money while healing people. Now, with those side effects, if he sells it, obviously in a future season, which I believe season 2 was confirmed, he can, so, those side effects are going to be a big role. I think they should have explained it more in this show. And the animation sucked. This, like, this terrible animation can only work if it's used as an excuse for humor. Like Rick and Morty, South Park, Family Guy, American Dad, Simpsons. I'm not going to say those shows have good animation, but in those respective shows as Prime, they use that their bad animation to add to the humor. Show does not do that. It's just bad animation. As far as the voice acting, it sounds like no one cares. They were just, it's like, oh, I got a paycheck. B, recorded some lines and said, screw y'all, I'm out here. And it just sounds like they didn't care. And the conspiracy stuff, I wish it would better. That could have been cool to see more conspiracy stuff. The intrigue, which is kind of why people like stuff like Jason Bourne. The world government stuff in One Piece, and and a lot of these big time political thrillers. Some of the conspiracy stuff really interests people, but they didn't expand on that enough, and it was nothing. I'm probably one of the few people who doesn't like this show, and I cannot recommend this. Dr. Stone, season 4, part 1. So Senku and his crew, they finally arrive at the US, and they're attacked by this group of people from NASA. And it's revealed that the leader of this group is Dr. Zeno, who was like a mentor figure for Senku. So basically, Senku, when he was little, he would try to build rockets and stuff. We all know that part. But it's real that he would send emails to NASA, who his adoptive father was an astronaut for, and would try to ask science questions. Dr. Zeno was the guy who would answer them because all the other people were shocked that a young kid asking these very sophisticated questions. Zeno was intrigued by having a protege and talking science with. And so basically, Zeno's more ruthless. He's kind of he's like an evil Senku. And basically, they want basically Senku wants corn to help with the revival fluid. Basically, there's a whole conflict, and so he basically tries to say Taiju, big dumb brute Taiju, one of the nicest guys in the world, is the doctor, is like the head doctor for Senku's group. So Zeno first tries to kill Taiju. Then he went to hear Senku's, and he's like, "Oh, frick, that ain't it. It's Senku." Then you have the girl who he sends to infiltrate. I can't remember her name. She falls for Senku because she likes smart guys, and Senku is like, "Whatever. Hey, if it helps me achieve my goals, hey, I'll date this chick." And you know, not everyone approves of that, but they're like, "We know Senku will do that." And they make fun of him for marrying the chief's daughter in season 1, then divorcing her a few seconds out later. And the science stuff is cool, just like Dr. Stone's done. The science is freaking awesome. The submarine that Zeno's group makes, the mining. You have Chrome when Senku gets shot. Chrome basically is placed in charge of the science stuff, and Chrome creates a drill. He tries to come up with a name, like normal, since it's something that exists in the old world. Everyone else calls it a drill. He's like, crap. So someone already made this. The whole trope we all like. It's classic Doctor Stone tropes. And this was a really good season. I really liked it. Looking forward to part 2 in July, because this season's supposed to go for 3 cores that are separated. I'm really looking forward to part 2. I know this manga's done, so I know they don't have to worry about filler and stuff. I'm really looking forward to this. like the Y Man, everything housed in like works with Senku. Like it's gonna be awesome. All right, Farmagia. This is based off of a video game from a few years from a little short while ago. The art style is done by Hiro Bashima, the creator of classic series like Rave Master, Fairy Tail, Eden Zero, and the newer series Dead Rock. It's very much a Hiro Mashima style art. Like, and tropes. You have your Eurasian states. Really, every Hiro Mashima work. I don't think Dead Rock's gotten to, I can't remember if Dead Rock's gotten to that where they introduced Eurasian states or Eurasian Six, but Grave Master, you had Eurasian Six. You had Eurasian Six and Fairy Tail, Eden Zero. And this series, it's like he uses that phrase over again. And it's done here. Basically, they're the six generals of they're the six like generals that rule each continent in like in the land, like in the world of Felicidad. And basically each member like under the leadership of Didokunum, who becomes the Magus that rules the world. And so your main characters are um, Tin, Lei, Arch, Chica, and Emero. Basically, they call themselves the Dragons of Sintfelt. They're like a group of childhood friends that basically hang out, grow up to become Farmagia. Basically, they tame monsters and summon them to fight, help them fight. And basically, what happens is Diluculum seemingly dies, and then one of the Eurasian states, Laza, basically becomes the Magus and starts becoming a tyrant. And the member of the Eurasian states that rules over Sintfeld, um, Nares, Nares of Avrion, basically leads a rebellion against Glaza. And so then there's this character named Xanos who leads Glaza's forces to invade Sintfeld, and Ken, who had been failing to get monsters who basically serve on like to train. He finally is able to summon some. Ironically, they're dogs, which he's some reasons afraid of. I don't know who's afraid of a little dog. I never understand that. But anyway, then he's able to grow and basically Ten, Lay, and Arch go to Perfectus to kill Manas, who's the Eurasian states there. They reunite with Imbro, who they all thought was dead. And Imbro, who was working for Manas, Imbro, after learning that all the evil stuff Manas does, defects to Avrion and helps the group kill Manas. Then so Tin, Lay, Imbro, and Chica, they go to Rahatluk and they kill Corpus, the Eurasian states there. And Corpus, who would only serve in Glaza to protect his people, as a reward for Avrion for defeating him, tells his people to defect to the continent of Avrion to help them against Glaza. And Arch is revealed to be under this curse from Glaza. Apparently, she was translating some text for Glaza, and basically she's cursed. And the only way to break the curse, now they can delay it with some medicine. The only way to actually break it is to kill Glaza. So now they're able to get some medicine to help delay it, but then they're confronted. The whole group's confronted by when they go to Sunrisa. They're confronted by Glaza, L'Oreal, and Zanis. And Zanis is revealed to be their friend, the Dragons of Sintveld's friend, Anzar. And L'Oreal and Anzar betray Glaza. and Glass is then killed by the dragons who lift Arch's curse. Then L'Oreal offers to make peace because basically everyone else is dead. Lisan was killed while the group was trying to get medicine. Well, after like she was killed by L'Oreal for failing to stop them from failing to beat them. Then and it's revealed that Dilucuum is actually alive, and he is working with L'Oreal. Now the dragons kill L'Oreal, and Anzar and Dilucuum wants to like do this thing called he wants to do his ritual to like destroy the world and make it new. So because he wants to kill God, because he Dentro, who was the dragon's mentor, and Eldor, who was Dilucuum's girlfriend, she was cursed by God after their rebellion. After those three's rebellion failed, Dilucuum absorbed her soul to stop her from dying, but he was cursed as well because of that. And basically, and he Dilucuum kills and basically Nares is killed, and Dilucuum resurrects all the dead, like and brainwashes all dead Racing Sace. They have to so the dragons of Sintveld killed the like they killed those Racing Sace, and Anzar works with the dragons to kill Dilucuum. And Ten's revealed to be the he's revealed to be the Farmagia Hyperion. Basically, he's like he's supposed to be the most powerful Farmagia. After they killed Diluculum, the world was restored. Then Charlotte, who is this cherub, basically an angel, she was walking around posing as a merchant. It was revealed that she had possessed the Lisan, like, and she decides basically to have some fun. Decides to not tell God about Ten being the Farmagia Hyperion, so God's wrath does not hit Felicidad. And I like this show. I'm a fan of Hiro Mashima's work. He's a, I mean, he's written some very good series. I mean, and this is a series I like. It's not his best. Fairy Tail still his best. Fairy Tail, Raid Master, Eden Zero. Those are like his big three. For Mega, I say it was a decent series. 2D animation was awesome. 3D, I don't know why they use 3D for the monsters. I don't understand that. That makes no freaking sense. Anyway, but that's like my biggest complaint. And he's your stereotypical hero Mashra protagonist, a, a an idiot who talks about friendship a lot. You know, it's just by the power of friendship. You know, more effective than the power of Grayskull at times. And it's anime. It's power of friendship, of course. Like that's the most powerful thing ever. I mean, outside of like outside of like random transformations, but it's a good show. I liked it, and I would recommend it to anyone who hasn't heard of this show. News Exorcist. So this is a manga. It's not an anime, and this review will be about chapter 92. And basically, in this chapter, basically, Bakuro is trying to deal with the feelings that all the various women have for him. And like basically like he's trying to deal with it. Fujino confessed to him. Then there's like some new student named Ishu Aramine, who like all the boys in the class immediately get smitten over. You know, new anime girl comes in, all the boys get smitten with her. It's a classic trope. And yeah, Issue basically tells Gakuro that she's into him and just straight up asks him out. And then all the guys in class are like, Gakuro, what being so popular? And it gets funny. And and it's revealed that she has a hollow weapon, so and like her hollow weapon's like a house. Well, she makes a house with with her hollow weapon, and pretty powerful stuff. And she basically she does uses her powers to make it to where they're alone, and she's just trying to get with Gakuro. And Gakuro asks her about the Fujino family, want to get more information out of her because there's a lot of mysteries regarding that family as far as exorcists go. And Gakuro says basically he proves he had a love confession, and like he's trying to deal with that. He can't be with her if he's dealing with that. And she's like, no, and she basically wants to be with him. And he's like weirded out. He's like, get me out. He's like, I want out here. And now looks and basically he summons his Bakura summons his hollow weapon, and he's like basically like, all right, just tell me about the Fujo family. I ain't messing around here. And basically looks like they're about to fight. Yeah, it's an interesting chapter. I don't care about the romance stuff, but at least they're you try and use it for humor. And, make it funny because Kakura's kind of awkward. But this character with this new character issue, she was funny. Uh, but it's like I'm hoping for an interesting fight. Some of the recent fights have been awesome. Like especially when the Fujio family started doing stuff, those fights were cool to read. Like that was freaking cool. So I like this chapter. And I really hope the show gets made to an anime soon because that would be some of this stuff would be cool to see. Bye Bye Earth season 2 episode 1. So yeah, it basically leads right off from where season 1 ended. You had Belle dealing with all that happened with Adonis, who um, tried to do some very bad stuff to her, and she's still processing that. And basically, Benedictine, the mermaid, gets in the gets in their female form and helps heal Belle and helps her recover from what happened. And like, and basically, Belle then goes on a journey, is about to leave on a journey for like to be a nomad. There's a lot weird stuff, and then you know, Cyan, who was Belle's master, meets with the rabbit Kitty, and like basically they talk about Cyan's time to train Belle, and Kitty says Cyan should have died. Belle cut him down as part of her test, and Cyan then leaves. Like it's this show has been okay. Like it was like season 1 was okay. Season 2, it's still okay. It's mid. The world is very interesting. Like the stuff with the swords and all that. I'm very it is interesting. It's not something it's hard to recommend this because it's like I kind of wait till the show's done before I say where I recommend it, but it's bid. It's average. It's like, you're 60, like 60% out of 100. Devil May Cry. So this is the new show. Basically, it takes plot points from Devil May Cry 3, and then it's manga tie-in. And so you have like your main villain is the White Rabbit, and he has these, you know, the various demons that work for him. And so the White Rabbit, basically tries to kill all these people and do all this, and he's trying to merge the human demon realms. Like every freaking Devil May Cry antagonist, they always try to merge the human and demon realms. And so this group called Darkcom is trying to stop the White Rabbit from like unlocking it. And the White Rabbit needs the sword of Sparta, and then the amulet because everyone tries to get Dante's amulet because it's part of the key. And so one of the main agents for Darkcom is Mary Ann Arkham, who fans know better as the Lady. They hunt Dante with some bounty hunters. Then, you know, Dante has to fight Darkcom and also to fight the demons. And one of the demons is this shapeshifter who Dante fights during the job when the shapeshifter disguises as a baby. Then he shapeshifts into Virgil, Dante's brother, who he thinks to be dead. And spoiler, that's Virgil's only appearance in present time is basically the demon shapeshifting into him. Outside that, we only see him in flashbacks, basically from when Dante was a kid, when the demons killed their mother. The backstory we all know. And Dante's still like at this point in time, he doesn't learn anything about Virgil being alive until the end, after he defeats the White Rabbit. So basically, so Lady, I'm gonna call her Lady because I'm a devil because I played the games. I know her as Lady, not as Mary. Basically, she hates demons. She really hates them because of her mother's death. And basically, and some of the demons that fight include Cavalier, Angelo, who people who play Devil May Cry 5 would know as the demon form that Trish takes when she's controlled by Virgil. So now they don't say whether or not this is actually Trish before she's given her human appearance, but it is possible. Who knows? They may try to go that route in season two, because I believe season two is being confirmed now in development. I don't know about release. I'm not an expert in how the contracts work, but basically it's just a nonstop fighting between Dante, Darkcom, and the demons. And so you have these refugee demons White Rabbit, who's revealed to be a human, who ended up in hell and was like grew up with demons. White Rabbit takes some demons to Earth, basically gives them a home, and then gets really pissed off at the humans, and he like wants to kill the humans, and through his effort, he starts experimenting on demons. Like he becomes evil. It's meant to be some sympathetic or villain, tragic villain. Like, and then the vice president, and like the vice president who like works with Darkcom wants to like invade the demon realm or Makia or Makai, and basically they go into all the tech because they portray because the games, everything's more in the games in the 2007 anime, which I recommend, is more everything's mystical. There is some sci-fi stuff, but it's very mystical. This show portrays everything as like a sci-fi thing. Tries to do kind of like how the MCU does things, where they try to make things look more scientific. But and leave out a lot of the magic. I didn't like that. I mean, yes, you have your standard demon powers, but outside of that, there was a lot of the magic was left out. They kept calling the amulet a transmitter, but like, like, can we have this be fantasy? Let's bring back fantasy. And I didn't like the show. The animation is fantastic. Studio Mir does a very good job animating it, and the voice acting. I enjoyed the voice acting for the most part. It was, Johnny Young Bosch does very well as Dante. Scout Taylor Compton as Lady was pretty good. Boone Lee as the White Rabbit. Chris Coppola as Enzo Farina, who's like basically he's an information broker who kind of serves as like in this early in Dante's career, he's like he basically helps get jobs for Dante, kind of like what Morrison does in the 2007 anime and Devil May Cry 5. Basically does what Morrison does. Now, so Morrison obviously, I'm guessing, doesn't appear yet. And the late Kevin Conroy, may he rest in peace, and Ian James Corlett, they voiced William Baines, who's the Vice President of the United States, who runs Darkcom. He basically Baines basically runs the country. The president, Hopper, he doesn't do anything. He's just like, like it. I didn't like this show. I mean, the voice acting and as a voice acting animation group, but the story was dumb. Like I would have liked if they if they're gonna do this, they should just adapted like the manga tie-in, and then leave straight into Devil May Cry 3. Where you have Virgil appearing. And if you need some filler to help fill in some gaps, help with any potential continuity errors, that would have been fine, and they should have done that. I think like this could have been a really good show. Like Devil May Cry is a very big series, and they screwed it up, and that's on the and I didn't like this show. Yeah, it's getting relatively decent reviews. Like I'm not a fan. Like I can't recommend this show. But the music was good. That metal soundtrack. Oh, outside of that one terrible Green Day song, Green Day's overrated. Like the metal music was awesome. Like if you want, like you could get if you're one of those people who buy vinyl, that it's a good soundtrack to have on vinyl. You just skip over Green Day. Like it's a very good like the opening theme by the Limp Bizkit. Brick, yeah, that was awesome. The show itself, no. All right, Elusive Samurai, chapter chapter 197. So yeah, at this point, there's like this big time jump. All the characters we were seeing as kids, they're all adults now. And right now, you have Tokiyuki fighting Fubuki in the duel. And basically, you see a lot of their past with each other, a lot of Fubuki's backstory, and it's like Tokiyuki wants to save Fubuki. He wants to help them redeem. And you see like all these flashbacks, and like this might be like last chapter might have been the darkest chapter in the manga, where it's real Fubuki ate his sister. That was the last chapter. This chapter we see like a continuation of like Fubuki having to deal with his past, and it you know ends with Tokiyuki slicing at Fubuki, severely injuring him. Then you have both of them crying, and Fubuki calls Tokiyuki my lord. And Tokiyuki responds with "Welcome back, Fubuki." And then you see like Fubuki looks like he's collapsing to the ground. My guess is he's dead, or or he's about to be dead. 1 to 2. And so we're getting close to the end game, probably for this series in the manga. Like we're in the big battle stuff. It's like probably Takagi, Ashikaga, all that's about to be dealt with soon. I like this chapter. Yeah, yeah, we're getting the actual battles. We're not dealing with what bunch of chapters of him basically getting 3 wives. I'm like, okay, hurry this along. We want to move on from it. I mean, it was funny. That stuff was funny. I mean, they're talking about how they're all going to try to hurt him in a quote, quote, good way. I'm like, okay, can we just move on? But, you know, this is a good chapter. And probably next chapter is going to be very emotional for like fans of the series and for the characters within the manga. So I'm looking forward to that. Fire Force Season 3, Episode 1. This premiered today, and what happened is Obi was arrested by the Fire Force for basically the all the like the villains, the White Cloaks, they all like arrest him. They have the Fire Force arrest him using their religion to convince them that hey, we're in charge now. Do what we say, and that's what they arrest Obi and basically and yeah, and then so Squad 8, they deal with the fallout of that, and they basically agree to break in and go save Obi. And I've read the manga, most of it, and I definitely read past this part. I could tell you, rap's about to go down. Like there's some great fights about to happen in season 3, and this is a good start. You know, they're all Squad 8. They're about to go in and wreck it. Like Arthur's about to have an absurd fight, some absurd fights. Like it's, I will say this, this is a good start to the season, and I am very much looking forward to what happens next. Like we are about to get to like all the stuff with with the spontaneous combustion, like and like Shinra is about to have his best fight. Like it is about to happen. Like and the White Clad, there's some new characters out coming soon, and they're gonna be cool. And like we're gonna get to the end game of this, and this episode was like it was great. It was fantastic. Like it does do a brief recap of some things that have happened because it's been a while since season 2. I mean, I had read the mangas in between that time, between season 2 and now, so I knew mostly what was going to happen. And yeah, this episode did not disappoint. Like, let's go. It's dude that whole fight is just going to be great. Like when Squad 8 goes to break Obi out is going to be awesome. Okay, Hunting Party episodes 1 through 9. Basically, what this is, you have this character named named Rebecca or Bex Henderson. She's a criminal profile FBI special agent. Basically, she's recruited by CIA agent Ryan Hassani to help find serial killers that escaped from this place called the Pit. Basically, the Pit is like a black site that houses serial killers. They do government does tests on them in order to figure out how to prevent and stop future serial killers. And each episode, like you have a villain your week where they're tracking different killer that escaped from the pit. Basically, there was an explosion and mass breakout happened. It's connected to this place called Silo 12, and it's revealed that Max's mentor, Odell, is like the warden of the pit. And for a time, Hassani and Max suspect Odell of like being involved, and he may be involved. He might be involved, but they're trying to investigate what happened. And you have Shane Florence. He's an officer there who works with Hassani and Bex in trying to find the killers while trying to investigate all the various doctors involved. Like most people like I've seen this has had very low critic reviews. I can understand that why, but I mean I've enjoyed this series. It's a simple procedural. You have some serialized stuff with what actually caused the breakout, which a lot of that's gradually being revealed. But you have your villain a week of like the serial killers. They're decent villains. Like it's like the bare minimum of good, but it's still good. I like it. Like I would say, I would say watch it. It's a fun show. Ishura season 2. So yeah, this show. Yeah. So this season I would say is a lot more disjointed than the first season. So you have all of these characters gradually being revealed leading up to the tournament. Because the true Demon King's dead. We don't know who the hero is. At at least in this show is concerned. The I do know that the source material has revealed that. And I'm not going to get into that. What I can say is that the anime has gone towards revealed that Shiki, enemy of all, came from another world, is the true demon lord. Well, was. And that when the Shura, that's like the champions, uh, Sojiro, the Willow Sword, like his world was destroyed by Shiki. So he has beef with the dead the dead true demon king. And now basically everyone's revealed. We're finally about to start the tournament. Hopefully, if we get a third season, we can see the actual tournament to get more of a cohesive story. Now, I don't know if there's a bunch. I'm sure there may be some stuff that's left out from the source material, but this is a mild recommend. It's a decent series. The fights are cool. How they name stuff like Alice the Storm Runner, Gia the World War, Mela the Horizon War, Linares the Obsidian, Oroa the Awful, Mestelexel the Box of Desperate Knowledge, Cyanop the Inexhaustible Stagnation, Shock the Soundless. Like these are cool freaking names. Like they're cool names. Like and it's kind of incoherent, but each story is relatively good. And I want to see the Royal games. And like also with Aratia, the new Principality of Lithia, that stuff is interesting. Like the world is awesome. Like you like the way how they're just showing each character, like it's almost like you could have had like multiple series that would gradually like cross over with each other. And I enjoyed it. It's like a mild enjoyment, but it's still a good enjoyment. So I'd say watch this. Minecraft. So yeah, I saw this yesterday. So yeah, it's a movie. It sucks, but it's a movie. Like so, Steve, played by Jack Black, like basically trespasses to a mine, ends up in the overworld using the orb of dominance and the Earth crystal, and he lives there for a while, befriends his wolf, who he names Dennis, ends up coming across the Nether, meets Malgosha, who's like a piglin who wants to destroy creativity. And then Steve's imprisoned by the piglins and Dennis escapes with the orb and crystal and hides them both in the real world under Steve's bed. And so years later, you have Natalie Henry. Henry's his creative outcast. Hen- Natalie's his older sister and legal guardian because their mother's dead. Don't their father is not really brought up. They moved to Chuglas, Idaho, and so Natalie gets a job at the local factory. Henry starts going to school, and he comes across befriends Garrett, the garbage man Garrison, former champion for a fighting game, who down on his luck and is facing eviction from his store. And Garrett had gone to a storage auction, bought a locker that had all Steve's stuff, which included the orb and crystal. And Henry, despite a note clearly saying, do not connect these, he connects the two, and then Garrett and Henry end up at the portal near the mine. Natalie Dawn, who's Natalie and Henry's neighbor, follows them to the mine, and they all four get sucked into the overworld. And Dennis walks through the portal to follow them in. Then Malgosha, who learns about the orb being back in the overworld, she tells Steve to get her the orb or she'll kill Dennis. Steve like agrees, and then Henry he figures out how the crafting works in the world, like how basically snap the finger he creates whatever the heck he wants, and it allows the group to evade skeletons long enough for Steve to help them. And then once I've never played Minecraft. People who may play Minecraft know once the daytime hits, the threat's gone. And so that whole group, goes to a village and they start trying to prepare to find our Earth crystal because Garrett broke the first one. And so they try and go to this woodland mansion. Natalie wants to find a map, but then there's piglins are sent to the village. They're given some potion that like prevents them from turning to zombies. And then they attack the village. The whole group gets separated. So Steve, Henry, and Garrett they go to this cave to find some treasure because Garrett needs money, and so he convinces Steve to take him to a cave. It's a detour on their way to the Woodland Mansion. Then once they get to Woodland Mansion, Henry finds an Earth crystal while Steve and Garrett like they try to distract them by being like a mariachi band for a birthday party, and then they get captured and taken to Fight Club, and they're the only ones there who are talking about Fight Club. And so Henry helps them escape. But then Malgosha arrives and steals the orb and the crystal, and Garrett is seemingly killed. They're in an explosion Garrett's seemingly killed while Steve and Henry escape. Escape and they're injured, and then Dennis, who Natalie Dawn come across, uses his nose to find Steve, and so Natalie Dawn are able to reunite with Steve and Henry. And the four of them and Dennis, they go back to the village to set up a defense against Malgosha. And then the whole big fight happens. Garrett revealed to be alive, and then he helps them defeat Malgosha and get back the orb. And so Steve, he goes back to the real world with the group. He and Dennis go back, and you know the group they all create this game called Lock City Battle Buddies because it's very successful, which helps Garrett with his money. And so they all do well in life. Dawn starts a pain zoo. Natalie starts a self defense class. Henry finishes a jetpack he was working on. Steve goes back to his house where he meets Alex, the female character from Minecraft. I, I didn't like this movie. They were trying to be Jumanji. No, I like Jumanji movie. I've seen 2 and 3. I haven't seen the original. I like 2 and 3. I it doesn't work with this movie. This should have been more like the Lego movie, with like so the main villain hates creativity. Lego movie deals with the main villain not liking creativity. They could have done something with that in this movie. Clearly they didn't. Like then with building being a big part, you could have gotten Phil Lord, Christopher Miller to make a 3D anime movie with Minecraft that would have probably been really good. And probably with the way they did Lego movie, they could have made a Oscar-winning Minecraft movie, like for best anime film. It wouldn't win Best Picture, but an Oscar-winning best anime feature, they could have done that with Minecraft. But instead, they made this pile of crap. They hired whoever it was they hired. I can't remember, and I don't care to know. But like they hired like this is just so bad. Like I don't understand. Like yeah, Jared Hess, that's it. Who did direct and Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre. Both movies I liked. I like those movies, but that style doesn't work for this. Like you got it. People say, "Oh, it's a game for kids." Yes, just because it's based off like this movie's based off a game for kids doesn't mean you don't take it seriously. Old kid stuff was well received because they was taken seriously. They, the filmmaker should have taken this seriously and made a good movie. Now I don't know if I call this a kids movie. There's some foul language in there, so take it what you will. But I mean, if Jack Black just being Jack Black, like live action Jack Black, not cartoon Jack Black, which is what a lot of fans know him for. Like, because when he's doing anime and stuff, Jack Black actually acts as other people. He doesn't act as Jack Black. It's like with Bowser, he played Bowser and did a award-worthy performance. This, he's awful. It's like, why are we seeing Jack Black and everything? Like, I this is all. It was a boring movie. Once Upon a Witch's Death, episode 1. So yeah, so basically this one, you have this witch. So so basically, well, apprentice witch Meg Raspberry, she's turned 17, and her master, Miss Foss, she's one of the seven sages. She tells Meg she'll die in a year because she has this curse called the death sin. So basically, she'll age really fast and she'll die of old age, pretty quickly. And the only way she can delay that is to collect tears of joy from 1,000 people, which can create this like it can help her get Meg get immortality. And Meg's not happy. She's glad of having a way to live. She's not happy with how that she needs 1,000 tears to do it. And this is just meant to introduce them to characters she'll come across. And Meg wants to be a good witch. She wants to be a powerful witch and surpass her master. And so she creates this illusion of cherry blossom trees to get some tears of joy from two characters named Dr. Hindi and this character named Anna. And this is a decent start. It's an okay start. For a pilot, it's not bad. The premise is interesting. She's trying to like stop her death within a year, trying to figure out how she can live. It premise is interesting. I don't care about the drama, slice of life stuff, unless it's done well. Like slice of life is a hit and miss genre. In general, it is. When it's done well, it's done very well. And I'm interested in this. I could see this being a decent hit. And so I'm looking forward to next week's episode. One Piece. So first, I'll talk about the special edited version, One Piece Fishman Island Saga. So basically, one of the things they did was they took the Fishman Island Saga, which was Return to Spally arc and Fishman Island arc, and got rid of all the filler and try to condense it into where it's more like quicker pace. They aired it during the big break in the two halves of Egghead Island arc, and which part two of Egghead Island starts tomorrow. And like it, and people who read the manga like me, uh, know that some good crap going down, about to go down. Like Bartholomew Kuma will earn some respect. Anyway, so for this saga, you know, basically, it's what we see, just with improved animation. And the only parts I recall manga content they cut out was like a few stuff near the very end, like after like Hody Jones is defeated. Basically, some of the stuff where some of the mermaids are kidnapped, they have to defeat, they have to fight the mud guy whose name I can't remember. Then Luffy eats all the candy. Big Mom gets really pissed off about. They do show him basically apologizing, offering her treasure. Now they don't show Big Mom saying she can't eat treasure, so she wants candy. And Luffy says, "I will come beat you and make Fishman Island my territory." Now, manga, I don't think we've seen the the straw hat, Jolly Roger on hailing up on Fishman Island yet, but we know that Big Mom has been defeated in the manga and anime. And I enjoyed this. I enjoy, it was cool to see it again. I think what would have been smarter is, how we have the show coming up called The One Piece, like that Wit Studios doing for Netflix. I think what would have been a better thing is, instead of just doing Fish Island, they should have done East Blue, and like you have your little like edited version, filler free, and like during breaks in between parts of an arc, you just air like the special edited version of pre-existing, and you just go through, and you do, and you could have had a lot of success. Start with East Blue. Uh, I could have maybe gotten them 3 cores, I think, like 3 cores of so like a so they started this Fish Mountain in fall of 2024, so they could have gone from fall 2024 through spring 2025, and then gone back to Egghead in summer. And then during like after Egghead's done, they could have done Alabasta. Then once Elbaf gets long enough to where they could do that, they could done the same. Somebody would split up Elbaf, depending on how long Elbaf ends up being. And so, I thought this, spell it was cool to see some of the like what we saw from when this anime was first got to this saga. I liked it. It's cool to see it again. The characters are great. It's classic One Piece. All right, so now for chapter 1144 of One Piece. So, right now you have all the the children of the giants are basically being led somewhere. They're being led by the God Knights. We know the characters don't necessarily know that, and then they're seeing all these visions of stuff they're afraid of. And so all the Straw Hats giants, they're all figuring out what the heck's going on. And then like basically Frankie sees something about this robot from like years in the past, centuries in the past, like even before the Void Century from like so what it sounds like you have two prior cataclysms. You had something involving Nika, who's probably my theory is that he's a giant. That Nika was a giant who had, the same powers that Luffy has right now. Then Joy Boy was I think Joy Boy was a Buccaneer. I think he was a Buccaneer, which I think that's why the Buccaneers are hated. And then he got Nika's powers. Now Luffy has those powers now. And setting up the third cataclysm. We don't know a lot of what's gone down. We We don't know. But it seems like you had three robots. You have whoever this giant robot is. You had Emet, who was with Joy Boy, and now you have Frankie with Luffy. So it's like you had these repeating patterns, and we don't know why you have all these patterns. Not yet. We will soon. Like voice, like I don't like. I would say those are the flashbacks people fans want to see because we know One Piece is very flashback heavy. Void Century flashbacks are gonna be freaking lit. And so, so with all this stuff current day, you have the all stuff the God Knights, all that's being said, the big fight against the God Knights. That Shanks hasn't appeared yet, but it'd be cool to see Shanks versus Shamrock. Like just to see that happen, that would be fun to see. And yeah, funny thing how Bunko's a fan of Brooks' music. Now you have so Saul's trying to help lead the defense of he's trying to do stuff. He's trying to stop the kids. It's not able to do it. And like Gory and Brogy, they recover from their hangover and help join the fight. And like basically, and Scopper Copper Gabon comes back and he's helping them. So now big fight's about to go down. It ain't like Wano big or Dressrosa big or Marineford big, but a big fight's about to go down. Like, and I'm looking forward to it. So stuff's finally happening. Like we're about to see giants fight. Or on the movements diverse. So yeah, this series aired in winter 2024 and well, fall 2024, winter 2025. So basically, you have different characters trying to research heliocentrism, which is like the whole theory about the like the earth, like the sun being the center of the solar system. And so basically, in this time period, this takes place in predominantly 15th century in what they called the P Kingdom, but that's basically Poland, which was the birthplace of Nicholas Copernicus, who's considered to be one of the big time like developers of the heliocentric theory. So so you have like so in this point in time in this show beginning, you have the people generally follow the geocentric, which is what the Earth is in the center. How they justify that is so in the book of Joshua, you have the story where Israelites are attacking some of the people in the promised land. And then Joshua asks for the sun and moon to stand still as Israel's killing its enemies. And basically, people think that it thought that was proof that the Earth was in the center. Now, now we know that whether or not now the Earth and moon side does not mean the Earth is the center. It just means we live on Earth and we saw them. Humans lived on Earth and humans saw that as stuffing. Doesn't mean Earth is the center. So now for this. So it changes protagonists. You have Raphael, who's like a child prodigy. He's about to go to university. He wants to study astronomy, but he's forced to do religion. And he helps this astronomer named Hubert study heliocentrism. Hubert's killed by his he's executed after being arrested by his inquisitor named Nowak. Then Raphael continues the research. He's reported by his adoptive father and teacher, Pataki, who wants to avoid being convicted of heresy himself because second conviction means automatic execution. So Raphael, he doesn't want to recant and he doesn't want to be tortured, so he ingests poppy seeds and kills himself. So 10 years later, there's these mercenaries named Oxy and Gallus who studies astronomy. mostly by observing bars. They're hired to escort a prisoner who No Walk is taking to basically, you know, to basically be in prison or to help collect some of the heliocentric materials, like some study materials. And then Oxy and Gallus help this prisoner escape, and then they find the study materials. Gallus dies. Oxy takes materials to to Badini, who's a priest who works with Oxy to study heliocentrism, and they recruit Yolenta, who is revealed to be Nowalk's daughter. She's a researcher at this university, and she's mistreated by her coworkers, by her male coworkers, because in that it's just in the time period, women doing a lot of research that was not looked highly upon in that time period. It's just an unfortunate way things were. And so the three of them do research. They solve the model, and then right as they're done, Nowak learns the things, and he goes in to arrest Oxy and Bedini, who are then executed. But Bedini saves materials by inscribing the text on that Oxy wrote. He inscribes it onto the heads of these homeless people, and then what was written on the homeless people's heads, they're transcribed elsewhere and restored because all the materials were burned. And Yolenta, her death is faked by this inquisitor by this priest who hates Nowak and wants to make him look bad. Had orders Yolenta be executed for heresy, but this inquisitor takes pity on her because he sees the execution is unjust and sets her free. But he's executed himself, and his corpse is framed as Yolenta's. And Nowak becomes drunk. Yeah, he gets drunk a lot. So 25 years later, you have this character named Draka, who's a Romani nomad. She wants to make money because her tribe, they just steal stuff. So she wants money to where they don't have to steal to live. Understandable, but she becomes obsessed with money. So she burns a copy of the heliocentric book, which Oxy wrote. There's a copy of it somewhere. She finds it, then she burns it. She's found by these, like the Heretic Liberation Force, and she wants to get paid to recite. So the group takes her to their leader, who is Yolenta, and who writes everything Draka says in exchange for Draka being allowed to use the printing press, which at this point in time was within the show is invented. And so the Inquisitors ask Nowak to help them find, the Heretic Liberation Front. After he realizes that Yolenta's the leader, he goes to help them. Basically, the entire Liberation Front is like they all die. Yolenta blows herself up to delay the Inquisitors. The other members, they sacrifice themselves to hold off the group so Draka can escape. She goes to she goes to a church, and Nowak gets there first. And Draka meets with Antoni, who is a friend of Beniti, who was the one who transcribed all the text. Nowak kills Antoni. He burns the church. He stabs Draka. Draka's able to stab Nowak. She escapes and dies of her wounds later. But she's able to get a letter onto this like pigeon, and basically the letter's able to be delivered. And Nowak, while he's wounded, he stays in the church about to die. He sees a vision of Raphael. Basically, he repents of killing all the heliocentric like believers, and realizes that he's the one who was doing the oppressing. He was in the wrong. And then you have, and so the book, Oxy's book, Yolenta's made the author. The book is titled "On the Movements of Earth," and so it's published. Then you have the last part. You have this character named Albert Rodzewski. This is a real historical figure. He's taught by a guy who looked like Raphael. It's not the guy is not given a name, but he just looks like Raphael and voiced by the same voice actor. And this guy's kind of like an evil Raphael who kills Albert's father to get research materials about the heliocentric theory. Albert briefly becomes that doesn't want to do academics, but he later overhears a conversation about Oxy's book, and he decides to go to university, and he eventually becomes a teacher, teaching Copernicus. So it's like Oxy's book indirectly impacted the teacher who taught Copernicus, leading to the heliocentric theory that we know today. It's a decent show. There's a lot of historical errors. So, like Protestant Reformation is referenced, but it had not happened by this point. That's not till 1517, and that'll be after the Albert stuff. And it's interesting. It has a lot of moral questions about is seeking truth worth all the methods that can happen, all the death, violence, all that. The moral quandaries are interesting to look at. And but one of the things is that it was heliocentrism was never accepted as a fact for a while by Catholics, but they didn't ban it. Like they didn't ban it until centuries after this was probably a few hundred years after this was, because it wasn't banned until after the Galileo stuff in 1616. So they weren't going around killing people over heliocentrism. No, they wouldn't want that theory to be used as a way to disprove the existence of God. They wouldn't want that. But there's a lot of historical issues. That's my biggest complaint. Outside of that, I think this is a decent show. It's worth a watch. All right, Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. It's in the Sakai. You could probably tell by the long title. And basically, you basically have a Power Ranger going to a high fantasy world, which is an interesting concept. You have the absurdity of the Super Sentai tropes, how they mesh with fantasy. Like it's actually really funny. So your Red Ranger or Kizuna Red, whose name is Togo Asagaki. He uses bond energy to for his powers. He summons his armor, summons basically all the Zords. I mean, they don't call them Zords, but Power Rangers fans would know them as Zords. So summons all of them, all the weapons, and basically he talks about bond, talks about different types of friendship and all that. And Idra, who's this witch, she's a mage who she's trying to restore her family's status. She basically, after hiring Togo for a job, they they become friends. She falls for him. And she wants to study his bond energy, which leads to well, they as they refer to it, bond merge, or at least it's heavily implied, but for research purposes. And so the princess, and those two they become associated with Princess Deltina, Liz, Wagro, Alvarost, and basically her bodyguard, Logi Mist. Basically, they go around trying to find these mana seeds because they're causing problems. They're provided by demons, it's a fantasy world. Stuff provided by demons usually doesn't go well for people. They eventually come across this user of the Amen, which is another Sentai armor, revealed to be the armor used by this hero who centuries ago defeated the Demon King. And this is during one of their adventures trying to find a mana seed. And this was an interesting show. The world is interesting. Honestly, it's very funny. How people know how Sentai tropes gets, how over the top a lot of it is, and they They do. It was funny, and they're just wanting to make jokes about it. And I thought this was a good show. Like I recommend to watch. Like it's a lot of humor. The fantasy stuff's interesting. The animation's really good. I like the music. Like it's a show I'd say you could get a few laughs at and it's enjoyment in. Sakamoto Days Part One. Ooh, basically this show was it was basically John Wick, the anime, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like this was a cool chapter. Like show. So basically, you have Taro Sakamoto, former hitman. He retires to get married, and he marries a local convenience store worker and has a daughter with her. And then basically, so he's attacked by this clairvoyant named Shin Asakura. And after he fails, he befriends Sakamoto and basically works at the convenience store with him and helps protect his family. And then they come across this Liu Xiaotane, who's the heir of this organized crime family. After she's targeted, basically they protect her. She like works at the store too and helps them out. And basically a bounty's put on Sakamoto's head, and basically Shin and Liu help Sakamoto like protect himself and his family while trying to figure out who's doing it, but they don't kill because Aoi basically told Sakamoto that if he kills anyone, she will leave him. So Sakamoto uses random objects, like everyday objects, as weapons to like cripple people, like to injure them. It's just downright awesome how he uses some stuff. Like this was a good series. Like if you're into like stuff like Assassins, Hitman, like in your fiction, I recommend this show. And the way how they use it, it's just very funny. And you have how Sakamoto, like even though he's like overweight, he's still like fit. Like he still beat the living crap out of people. Like it is awesome. I do watch it as soon as possible because part two premieres in July. Watch it ASAP freaking P. Shangri-La Frontier season two. So basically, Shangri-La Frontier. Yeah, you have Sunraku like having basically still trying to search for the seven colossi and like probably with Canarnid, the Abyss, and all that, and basically he comes across Lycagon again, Lycagon the Night Slayer, who gave him his marks that he's still pissed off about. He comes across a shadow of her. He and Siger Zero, and then basically he goes around trying to solve all the lore of the world, which Sigral Frontier's world is awesome. And after having some struggles, he goes back to another one of the trash games he played to try and figure some stuff out. Then he befriends some people there to help do a quest for Kanarhid the Abyss. And then and he goes back. And right now, where they at is he was recruited by Katsu, and like he and Arthur Pitzelgon are recorded by Katsu to help basically do a local match against Katsu's rival, which is like a team from this top American gamer and her team. And like, because he basically played Shangri-La Frontier to prepare for the game Galaxia Heroes Chaos, because it's the same engine, similar game fighting mechanics to Shangri-La Frontier. And so Katsu and his teammate, uh, Nutumeg, go against Star. They're fighting against Star Rain. and like basically it's just gamers playing games. Like that's all this show is. Like they act like how gamers act. They know like they want to one up their friends. Well, also they'll help each other, but they're very much looking to one up them. It's so funny. It's so great. Like this is one of the best isekai shows ever made. Now, some people say that's a low bar to set, and I can agree with that. But this is fantastic. Like the music, the animation, the story, right, the humor. It's all awesome. Like this is a must watch. Like if anyone tells you that isekai sucks, say watch Shangri-La Frontier, and then try to say isekai sucks because this is the isekai to watch. Solo Leveling Season 2, or subtitled Arise. So Arise, that comes from the password he uses to summon his shadows and gain more shadows. So Sung Jinwoo, like, so as we saw in season one, he basically was left for dead and gained the power of the system to gradually grow his power level. And so right. And basically what we see in season two, he gets his potion to help heal his mother of her disease because she's been in coma for a while. And she gets his potion, uses it, heals her, and then he becomes an S rank hunter. So he's like part of the top echelon of hunters. Went from being the weakest E rank to becoming the top S rank. And they know and people like he impresses some people. And then there's like this because there's this army of bugs on this island that all the hunters have to go to. A bunch of them get killed, and so Sun he briefly stays out because he wants to help his mother because she had just awoken from a coma, and then he goes there and helps save them. And kind of like if and y'all have read or watched Hunter x Hunter, he had that Chimera arc where he had all those bugs. So basically, the final arc in season two is kind of like that. You had this army of bugs they're all trying to kill, and you had the big fight against the king bug, against the top dog in the fight. And so when Sun wins, and so and this was a fantastic show. Like it probably will win best. It has a very good chance of winning best new series. And based on the nominees for anime of the year, it will probably win that as well. Not saying I would pick it for that award. My pick would be One Piece for anime of the year, as it would be for basic, admittedly, about every year. But this will probably win it, and it'll probably win best new series. And like, and this wouldn't even be my pick for that one. My pick would be Fairy Tail 100 Quest for best new series. But I think this would be a great. I think this is a great show. It is if you're a gamer, if you're a hardcore gamer, you will like how someone levels up and stuff. You will like it. It is fantastic. Like, do watch this. It's a cool series. Spy Family chapter 114. So this one basically you're like basically hangs out with Yuri. Like and they go shopping. Yuri's as we all know, it's not like Lloyd and Anya. Well, he doesn't like Lloyd. Like he thinks Lloyd's make you unhappy. You're unhappy. Wants, he basically wants to be the main person in yours life. Yours like so he's like, what is Lloyd making you do? Yours like, no, I like helping Lloyd. I like it. they're all good to me. The forgers are good to me. And basically, and Yuri's sad because like he doesn't have anyone besides Yor in his life. And he feels like he's drifted far because due to his job at the state security service, he can't tell her about stuff. Now, granted, she can't tell him about how she's the Thorn Princess, but they can't talk about their secret lives. And honestly, that's having an effect on Yuri. Frankly, given his personality, I'm surprised he kept his secret. I'm in York, given the fact that she's dumb. I'm surprised she kept her secret. But this is a good chapter, good character focused chapter because I think we are about at the end game with all the stuff with you know Dom and Desmond's wife thinking he's an alien and how he might could read minds. This could be we're about at the end game. Like stuff's picking up. Like I think basically we're at like slow. It's kind of like how Spy Family does. After big stuff happens, you generally have you see a few like what some people call filler chapters, and then you build back up to the next big thing. And we are about at the next big thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to future chapters. Tasokare Hotel. This was based off a phone game. So this one, like basically this one you had and basically you had Neko Sukahara. She goes there and she is in some reason her face is already there because most people due to their memories their face may not appear, but her face was already appeared, so her memories are good enough to where it could happen. And so she becomes an employee at the hotel while she stays there. Basically, she works with some of the people helping other guests get their memories back. And some fellow employees include the concierge and who is a former musician named Atori Haruto. Then you have uh, Ruri, who's the cook, around the same age as Neko. It's heavily implied she's Neko Sims for her. Then you have Minao, who's the proprietress at the bar. And there's a guest who's like a serial killer who becomes a recurring foil for Neko called Masaki Osoto. He was a med student and became a serial rapist and killer. Like he did bad. He was not a nice, not a good person. Now, and it's revealed, and basically, it's eventually revealed that Osoto had killed Neko by stabbing her, basically trying out how to kill people, and that he killed Tori after stalking him because like Osoto's parents preferred a Tori over him and wanted a Tori basically like to be like their son. And so Osoto saw Tori, pushed him onto a train. And Osoto, he wants to eat a Tori and like become him. So Neko pulls a gun because there's this guest named Kiriko who told him that it could send someone to hell. And without repercussions for the use, because the way it works, if you kill someone in the Tasokare Hotel, which is basically like a limbo, if you kill someone there, you get sent to hell. It doesn't matter if you're alive or dead. Like doesn't like you die and go to hell if you do that. And so Tori pulls like Neko pulls a gun, but Tori sees it. He goes there. He like the guns like Neko drops the gun. Like Tori fights with Osoto over it, and then the gun goes off, kills Osoto, and Osoto dies. Tori gets sent to hell, but Neko she's fired, and her payment was like time, so she's able to go back in time to before some time before her death. And so how they handle it, so she comes away to save a Tori by using her time, his time, and then some of Rory's time to go back in time to stop Osoto from killing the Tori. And so and she's given this to send Osoto to hell. Now she stops Osoto from pushing Otori, and she uses the box to get Osoto to hell. And but he drags her in, but she's able to get out with the help of Otori. And then, and basically with the box, Osoto is trapped in hell. She lives on. So this uses the true ending of the game. So there was an alternate ending where Neko convinces Osoto to not kill Tori in exchange for her becoming his accomplice. So she helps him kill other people in this alternate ending while she's growing up. And so the true ending, I mean, neither ending is great. And I think this is and it made no sense. So the resident tricked her into using a gun by saying it could send Osoto to hell without repercussions, but it's revealed to not do that, and it's just a regular gun. And so she accepted the box. That makes no sense. That shouldn't have happened. But whatever. Outside the dumb ending, it's still a decent show. I think the premise is awesome. A hotel for people who are in limbo where they don't know if they're alive or dead, and once they know, they either go to the afterlife go or wake up from a coma. The premise is cool. I just didn't like the ending. Terrified teacher at Ghoul school. So basically, you have your main teacher who is Haruaki Abe. Basically, he's coward. He's scared of delinquents. That's why he has trouble getting jobs, teaching jobs, because he's scared of delinquents. He gets a job at school for yokai. So yeah, a cowardly teacher gets a school for yokai. So it's just kind of like, and y'all has seen Scooby Doo and Ghoul School, which is a good movie. I highly recommend watching it. Basically, it's like that, except it's anime. And so Abe, he has this fetish for school uniforms, and that's a recurring joke. and so basically, and so Hiyaki Academy, that's the school he goes to, the principal hires him because he's friends with Abe's family, who work at a shrine. And Abe is revealed to inherit these very powerful exorcism powers from his ancestor, who was a very famous exorcist. Basically, he and his students get into various hijinks, where it's a school festival, where it's a sports and stuff, where it's whatever's going on in class, these get into various hijinks, following the various yokai powers. The different yokai are cool. The encyclopedia was a good explanation for why they explain stuff. And it's a funny, this ain't some big time lore stuff. This ain't some there's not some big time overarching villain. It's just a cool, funny series where it's just it's a slice of life. This is slice of life done well, and it's freaking funny. The different yokai are cool. The characters are interesting. So it's kind of like assassinate. If you've read or watched Assassination Class, you kind of how Kuro Sensei bonded with the students. You kind of have that, and how the students and teachers interacted with each other. It's not that kind of level of character moments. It's definitely not as good as Assassination Classroom, but it is some. It is a good series that I would recommend. You'll get a few laughs out of it. The beginning after the end. So this one started this week. You know, basically you have this. Basically, you have this king named King Gray who died, and he's reincarnated as this guy named Arthur Lewin. And first episode, you just see him as a baby. Since due to his past, he already has very powerful magic, and almost burns his house down. And his parents, like, they don't know about him being reincarnated king. They just know that he's their baby, and that's all they care about, as good parents do. And so he grows up. We see like the first 2 years of his life, and basically we're just it's a pilot. It's introducing it, and so it's funny. You have like how he lived for a while, and then he's like a baby, and having to deal with what babies doing, basically him doing what babies do without really controlling it. It's funny. It's a funny intro. I think this could be a good series. Trillion game. So yeah, yeah. This was a cool, like, basically you have your main character Haru is like he's a scumbag. Like he's, as he calls himself, the world's most selfish man. So he's kind of like your secondary character. Your main character is Manabu Ira, who's also known as Gaku. He's a computer genius. But he's very nervous. So his personality, he had trouble with interviews, so he couldn't get a job. So he had trouble getting a job. But Haru, who was his old classmate, you know, he who does get a job at Dragon Bake, which is what Gaku wanted to work at. Haru gets a job, but he quits on the first day and decides to form a company with Gaku. And they search for investors, and they get an offer from Kirika uh, Okuryu, also known as Kirihime, who's the board director for Dragon Bank and is the daughter of the company's president, Kazuma Kokuryu. And to find better offers, they enter this hacking competition to use Gaku's computer skills to, win. And they do. They don't. They cheat to win, and so they by default lose. But they impress his venture capitalist named Kazuki Kedouin, who is a former like agent at this talent agency that is called God Promo. And basically, he like took the fall for a hit and run, and like basically he became a venture capitalist after getting fired and going to prison. And so he Kedouin invested in their company, which they call Trillion Game, because Gaku and Haru want to make $1 trillion. And so two of them they hire, like they start hiring some people, like so they hire Rinrin Takahashi, college graduate, as the company's president. So Royale College, she becomes the president, and they go to different business adventures. Rinrin, who had worked at a flower shop, she basically becomes like their quote quote AI for people trying to buy flowers. Basically, she like gives people advice on what flowers to buy for whatever reason they need them for. Then they use that money to actually make a real AI, like to help develop like a real AI, or help this flower shop that buys their like AI, quote quote AI, to like run their own business, similar type business. Then they then make a phone game to make a bunch of money. They use it as a way to help buy get God promo, and then once God, so Haru didn't care about the phone game. He just wanted it as a way to get money to buy God promo. That's what he cared about. But Gaku, who wanted to do right by the developers, worked with the developers. He and Rin worked with the developers to finish the phone game and made a successful game. And Haru, he respected it. He respected their efforts. And then Dragon Bank basically declares war on Trillion Game because Cosmo does not like being upstaged. So they keep trying. He tries to buy them out, but then he says, "If you don't buy them, if you don't sell them to me, I will crush you." And so basically, you have competition. So right where around there this season, Trillion Game forms a streaming service They start doing a few shows. They work with the news agent, this news station to port news there, and basically now we're just at like a competition between Dragon Bank and Trillion Game. Now you have in the future, there's like some future stuff where Haru had disappeared and Gaku was running things. It was believed that there was like some falling out, but Haru was actually like elsewhere trying to help procure some business for the company. And I thought this was an interesting series. I mean, it's about two guys trying to form a business, and you had a guy who is a scumbag, knows he's a scumbag, and doesn't care. And you have Kedwin, who's like a rogue type character. He's very interesting. I mean, he just sits there with his cigarette and then with his hat. The way he's like the rogue guy you see in like a lot of like fiction. The kind of cool guy. You're like, oh, all right. Once you see him, all right, I'm enjoying this show. And it's a cool show. And all the business stuff is interesting. And Gaku's funny at times. You have how everyone's reactions to Haru doing something. They're like, oh wait, this is Haru. Of course he does this. It's very fun. Okay, Watson, episodes 1 through 8. So yeah, basically so this is a Sherlock Holmes show without Sherlock Holmes. So Holmes is dead. So people who are aware the kind of stories of Sherlock Holmes, Holmes and James Moriarty fall over this waterfall and die, or seemingly die. Holmes is dead. I think his body's cremated, and Moriarty disappears. He's revealed to be alive, and Watson and Watson forms a clinic using money Holmes left, and he helps. And Watson runs it with Shinwell Johnson, who's a former criminal who is associate with Holmes and Watson. And this all takes place in the U.S. So Watson moves back from London to the U.S., where he reunites with his wife who divorced him, Mary, and who happens to work at the clinic too. And basically, he Watson runs the clinic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he and his group of doctors try to investigate. They probably diagnose whatever the problem is for each patient. So it's kind of like Doctor Ameku, except not as good. Well, or as I would say, it's like Doctor Ameku, but not good at all. Because I mean, this doesn't even need to be Sherlock Holmes based. Like you could just had Doctor who's trying to act like be like a detective type guy while trying to solve diagnose. Like you could just done that. You didn't need to tie it to Sherlock Holmes. It's a boring show. There was no need for this. There's no need to move Sherlock Holmes' story away from London. It's a British story. It should stay in the UK. But they wanted to move it to the US because it's made for whatever reason. I think it. I mean, the medicine stuff is kind of interesting, but how they get to it and how they arrange it's just done poorly. And I think it's not a good show. Like somehow it got renewed for a second season. I don't know how. I don't know how it could get renewed for a second season, but it did. And I can't recommend the show. It's not good. And it still has a few episodes left before the season's done. All right, Windbreaker season 2, episode 1. So leading off from where season 1 ended, Bofarin isn't basically attacks Keel's headquarters and starts beating up everyone. And it's like an all-out brawl between Keel and Bofarin. Like you see Sakura fighting and like trying to lead the charge. And then like when the other gray captains comes in, helps them, like it get like it's all out brawl. Now, it ain't the all out brawl. People who've read the manga know what I'm talking about. About the what's the all out brawl. But basically, like it's gonna. So what we have here, you're gonna. Basically, it's just them fighting. Like that's all. It's just the fight starting. Everyone's like stressed out because they're all basically in this like they're all like in this like abandoned building or something, and it's fight. It's just delinquents fighting, and it's a and this is a this is a good episode. Like it's just there ain't much story to it. It's just them fight. It's simple, and they're like like this was like this, and this arc is a very good arc in the manga, and I'm looking forward to how they finish it in the subsequent episodes. Kagurabachi chapter. See chapter 73. So yeah, so this one is continuing on. So all the stuff with uh, with Iori, like her past is coming up, how she was raised. She's remembering more about her father, cause like and how like when she was growing up, all her classmates like basically bullied her because they said her father was a like massacred a bunch of people because there was a lot of bad stuff that happened in the war, and like her father being one of the sword bearers, like they and basically it's revealed that the story of what happened, what they did, what the sword bearers did, what all went down, like it started leaking, the story started leaking to the public, and people knew about it. And it's focused on Eoi right now, so they're trying to show the flashback stuff before they get to it because they're like basically all the sword bearers are being targeted, and I'm liking this Eori stuff. Like the flashbacks are cool. It's showing some great character moments for like for the sword bearers, for everything that's going on. Like and this because we're seeing everything, and the like what's about to happen. I'm betting I don't know what's about to happen, but I am looking at these fight like action just picking up in Kagurabachi. Like as things go on, we've got more and more action. And it's a they better make this to an anime. I don't. They better make because this will be one of the biggest anime of the year whenever they release it. Yeah. Oh, Astro Royale. All right, so Astro Royale chapters 1 through 47. So basically, in this series, there was like some asteroid event that did something, gave people superpowers. So your main character is Hebrew Yatsurugi, the head of the Yatsurugi Yakuza clan. And basically, he's the only biological son of the group's leader, Bongo Yatsurugi. And then he does not want to leave, so he says that his adoptive brother is the next head. It, so Terasu, his brother, becomes the next head, and the other adopted sons are pissed off. So when the meteor shower happens, everyone develops a power called an Astro. And Hibiru's is like he can basically he can punch really hard. Like it's not full on one punch. He can't end it in one punch, and he doesn't have an iron fist, but he has the world's strongest fist, basically. And so basically, they go around trying to get allies, including some of the other adopted brothers, and they come across this corrupt cop who was involved with some of the sub materials that led to like the Astros. And so right now there's this tournament where Hebrew was fighting another of his brothers, and basically a lot of stuff regarding the Yatsurugi clans getting revealed, a lot of the inner workings about how they work and how the like how some of the Yakuza did not like they don't want they don't want Hebrew in charge. They don't want the Yatsurugis in charge. They want to basically bully people down. Like where Hebrew wants the Yakuza to be a more honorable group. And so we're seeing like basically it's the tournament and the tournament's about to end. So I'm looking forward to how they finish the tournament, how things progress forward, whether or not it's future arcs or if they end the series. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Ultimate Warrior Kiyoshi, Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi. So yeah, this has gone on for so basically you have Kiyoshi who the series starts he's scared demons. He's scared, but he's like the most powerful exorcist. And so and he and like he was like known as being the prodigy, the highest, most powerful, and he basically wanted to be ex because his parents were killed by a demon. He went under extreme training. And after graduating, the Exorcist Academy, joins the Naruto branch under command of Tenma Sakaki, who saved Kiyoshi when he was a kid. And so Kiyoshi works at Sakage's shop, which is called the Gates of Hell Chinese restaurant. And basically, he starts working there, and where he meets some people like Akari Jogasaki, another exorcist who's a little older than Kiyoshi, who works there. Starts working there. You have Nihon Sajigawa, a classmate of his, who becomes friends with this amnesic demon named Jackjo, who's revealed to be one of the demon lords. But he lost memory, so he befriends Nihon and eventually forms a contract with him. And so there's various exploits regarding like other exorcists, other demon lords. And so now what we're at is there's like a big fight, so all the exorcists are gathered. A lot of major are gathered fighting like the demons, like and basically they're leading up to Kiyoshi. Looks like they're leading up to Kiyoshi fighting the head demon lord, like Astro. Like and it's and like it's a good series. Like I love it. Good manga. Like we're seeing like it's now nonstop battle. Like all right, we got all these extras, all these demons. All right, let's just get right into it. And so we're about to see like some of the bigger battles, and I think they're about to end the series, which happens. A lot of these Shueisha series they end very quickly because like whether it's rating, whether it's like they don't have a lot of readers, whether they're trying to move on to the next thing, so you don't have to keep like there's some money reasons, but there looks like they're gonna end it. And if they make this to an anime, it'd be like a one season thing, and I think it'd be good. Yeah, I like this. I like this manga so far. So yeah, Ichi the Witch. So and right now it's on chapters 1 through 28. So basically, here's the premise. You have Ichi, he's a hunter, he comes across this battle between Aurora, who's this magic, and Descaras, who's a witch. And so all the witches at this point in time were all women. So only they could take over the power of the magics. But Itchy, who just wants to hunt, he gets like Aurora's power and he becomes the first male witch. And so Descaras has to watch over him, eventually take him to where their headquarters is at. And and after some battles, she forms a contract, some form of contract with Itchy to where they're basically their lives tied where because there's a prophecy where Itchy will save the world but will die. And Descaras, who feels guilty about dragging Itchy and everything, forms a contract with him so she'll die when he dies. And basically they're working with all the other witches, trying to they're trying to find different magics. So right now Ichi's working with this guy named Gokuraku, the brutalizer, who wants to become a magic but can't. But he wants to kill this slumbering magic named Bakugami because of basically he takes away the emotion of sadness from people, and it can affect people. And, and that's where we're at. This has been the interesting premise. It's high fantasy and magic stuff's cool, and I think Gokuraku could be an interesting side character, and I like it. Embers. So this is a new soccer manga that Suisha did. It received a lot of praise by the creator of Blue Lock, and basically you have this delinquent guy who is basically he's a good fighter and basically can't be challenged. No one can beat him until a teacher like beats him in a soccer match, and so he wants to play soccer because he wants to be the best. And so so basically he gets a rival and and so Haitani, that's his name. Because of the challenge, he wants to get better, and he's a defender. He's not a big offensive guy, and so he joins the high school team. They're he and his rival they join, and they're about to fight this big match. And so after he makes the team, they're all ready to fight, all ready to just go ham in soccer. And so it doesn't have high stakes like Blue Lock, where your pro career is screwed as far as playing for a national team is concerned. This ain't like that. This is more just a guy trying to get better at soccer. Relatively simple story, but you see him facing his first big official match, and I want to see. I'm looking forward to future chapters. This could be a fun series. So, all right. So, Star Beethoven. So, this is basically Beethoven resurrects from the dead, and he starts teaching this former musician. He starts teaching so there's this so the main character like quit being a pianist. He lost the competition and just quit because he was depressed over losing. And some reason And so comes across Beethoven. He doesn't believe he's Beethoven. He thinks he's crazy, but Beethoven's a really he got so Beethoven obviously said he's Beethoven. We know he knows a lot about piano, and we know he knows a lot about music. So he basically helps the main guy get back into playing piano and regain his passion. So it's a cool music series. And he finally gets into this big music school, and now he's working on improving his craft. But now you have these two like people who are hunting for Beethoven, who they know he's resurrected, and now they're about to set up. Looks like there's gonna be some combat stuff about to happen. So it's not just gonna be just a random music thing. It's gonna be like some cool supernatural stuff about to happen, and reveals about probably why Beethoven's alive. And so I think this could be a really good series. I like it so far. I think this could be like one of those that becomes like a big hit down the road that could just by Beethoven's name could become to a good anime in the future. All right, so Chainsaw Man Chapter 198. So you have Chainsaw Man's fighting the what he thinks is the Death Devil. He's talking to her. Now it's revealed that she's actually the Famine Devil, and 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 so there's some confusion there. Then the Death Devil appears. It's a short chapter. Death Devil appears and reveals herself as the Death Devil. And so it looks like we're about to see a big fight between Chainsaw Man and the Death Devil, who, for some reason, cut out all of her organs. It's a weird chapter, but I mean, Chainsaw Man has gotten really weird in recent months. But it's I'm interested in how the Death Devil fight, like how she fights, what her powers are, how she is an antagonist in comparison to Makima. Spoilers for anyone who has only watched the anime. Makima is evil, or was evil. She's dead now, and so is her reincarnation apparently. But there's an interesting chapter. Interesting how the Death Devil is like Death Devil. That's a villain that sounds interesting. It's like okay, we're literally finding death here. Yes, that makes sense as a fear, as a very powerful fear, and I want to see what happens there. All right, Daredevil Born Again, episodes 1 through 7. So basically, this follows up the classic Netflix show, which is one of the greatest American superhero shows ever made, especially in the live action format. So, this show, you have Charlie Cox returning as Matt Murdock. First episode, you do have Foggy and Karen come back. Foggy gets killed by Bullseye. They actually finally call him Bullseye in the show. In this show, they ain't call him that. That's one of the biggest complaints of the Netflix is that they don't call Bullseye Bullseye. Anyway, so Bullseye kills Foggy, which I think was a mistake. If you're gonna kill one of them, should have been Karen, because in the comics, Bullseye does kill Karen with one of Daredevil's weapons. So if they're gonna kill off one, if the show's gonna kill off one of the main three in the first episode, it should have been Karen, not Foggy. And so now there's a time jump. Matt works at a law firm with the former DA Kirsten McDuffie. Karen has moved to San Francisco. Bullseye's in prison, and McDuffie sets Matt up on a date with this therapist named Heather Glenn. And and Matt has given up being Daredevil after he beat the living crap out of Bullseye. And so Matt works with McDuffie and his old NYPD associate Cherry and Wilson Fisk runs for mayor, and he wins the election. And like he tries to leave the mobster life, which his wife, when he was away, his wife Vanessa was running the business. So he comes back, basically tries to get them out of the crime game so that he can win the election. And so during, since Matt's no longer Daredevil, there's a new vigilante named White Tiger, who's Hector Ayala, who he gets accused of killing a cop. Now Matt's able to clear his name, but White Tiger's identity is exposed, and he's killed by some corrupt cop who's using the Punisher logo as like a symbol. And and Matt's trying to avoid doing Daredevil stuff because they're like Fisk is trying to crack down on vigilantes. So whole bit where so White Tiger's dead now. Matt has to deal with that, especially with Ayala's niece Angela Del Toro, who really pissed off about it. Like she wants to do something about it, and so during this, and then like there's also this new serial killer named Muse that comes around, and so eventually Matt puts on the Daredevil suit and fights Muse, and Muse dies. And now, meanwhile, with Fisk, you have like his stuff with his wife, where apparently she had an affair while he was away with this guy, and like she was screwing this guy named Adam. Then Fisk puts Adam in a cell and beats him up. He doesn't kill him because Vanessa asked him to not kill him. And then basically, so far, we've got to where Muse is dead, which and now and Matt's back at being Daredevil. And Fisk is about to go after Matt Murdock, for all this because he knows Matt's Daredevil. Whether or not he's gonna publicly disclose his identity, I can't say. He might do that. I I don't like this show. It's boring. I think they should not have gotten rid of Karen and Foggy, especially Foggy and Fisk. It's like what's it's almost like no point to Fisk being in the show. The way they portrayed him, it's like there's no point to this. Like, what's his plan? He's just being mayor. It's like okay. It's like if this was like him trying to do some long-term criminal game, that'd be some one thing, but he's not. It's just him being Daredevil. I mean, it's just him being mayor. And Matt, finally, he's wearing a suit. And it's like, I hope the next two episodes improve upon the the seven that have already aired, because there's a lot to improve upon. A Working Man. So this is a movie based off the novel Levin's Trade by Chuck Dixon, one of the creators of Bane, and this stars Jason Statham. So basically, Levin Cage, former Royal Marine Commando, he's a foreman for a construction team for a company run by the Garcia family. And the Garcia's daughter, Jenny, is kidnapped by these Russian traffickers while she's out partying with her friends. And Levin's asked by the Garcias to find her. So after some hesitation, because he doesn't want to get back to being violent and stuff, so he decides to go find her, and then he just goes around kills the Russian mobsters while trying to find Jenny. And like eventually, a bunch of high up mobsters get killed. Like and eventually, the mobsters learn about Levin, and so Levin has to hide his daughter to stay with his friend Gunny, played by David Harbour, who's like a blind former soldier who lives in this cabin in the woods. It has like a full on arsenal of weapons, and Levin uses Gunny's weapons to kill basically all the monsters and save Jenny. I would say this was a really good movie. Like, simple story. It's just a man doing some brutal vigilante justice and trying to save a friend. Very simple and it was really good. I really like this movie. Like so far, I'd say this is a top 10 movie of the year. Will it stay that way? Maybe it might, based on what's released so far this year. But it's a really good movie. Jason Statham was fantastic as Levin King. Now, granted, Jason Statham basically plays the same character every movie, but he always does it very well, and he still does it well in this movie. So, congratulations to Chuck Dixon for beating Snow White in the box office, and like for utterly embarrassing Disney. Yeah, maybe you should have hired Chuck to write your Punisher show, Disney. Wait, no, that was Netflix, but maybe Marvel should have hired Chuck Dixon to write their Punisher show instead of whoever they got to write that garbage. Like, man, a true Punisher Warzone show would have been great, as this movie shows. And maybe DC should hire him to write a Batman movie because he would have done a really good Batman movie. But, he's showing Marvel and DC. Chuck Dixon showing Marvel and DC who's boss. And that's it for reviews. So yeah, I enjoy. So yeah, I mean, I'll be trying to do reviews every day, like daily reviews, and trying to trying to prove myself on doing YouTube and stuff. And you know, there won't be as many as this. This was just due to all that had released recently. There was just a long list of stuff to review. But I will be making trying to do this every day. So it'll be slightly shorter, not 2 hours. And yeah, look forward to my reviews tomorrow. See y'all later.